Simoy ng kalayaan, JC.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second part of our program. We now formally open the first plenary session for this afternoon on STEM Talks. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my honor to introduce to you our guest speaker for this session on sustainability. Our speaker is an associate professor from the Department of Manufacturing Engineering and Management, Gokongwei College of Engineering at the De La Salle University, where he obtained his Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical Engineering with specialization in bioenergy, Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, major in bioenergy, and Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering with concentration in Mechatronics Engineering. Just a few years back, he was a visiting scholar at the Department of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering, University of Arizona, USA, under the United States Agency for International Development STRIDE Scholarship. Friends, he has worked on a number of research projects and programs funded by various organizations and agencies, the latest of which was CRUISE, a capacitive resistivity underground imaging survey equipment for underground utility assessment for Philippine infrastructures, funded by the Philippine Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technology Research and Development, Department of Science and Technology of the Philippines. His competence in his field at his very young age was recognized by the National Academy of Science and Technology of the Department of Science and Technology as he received the Magsaysay Young Engineers Technologist Award for 2013 to 2014. Everyone, let us all welcome Dr. Andres Philip Mayol.
Hello, everyone. Naririnig ba ako? Hello? Okay naman, no?
Yes, Dr. Andres.
Okay, so,
thank you.
all right, thank you. No? So, hi again, no? It was wind energy for renewable energy, combined heat and power for power plant systems, and microalgae biomass for biofuel production. So when my mentor said that a few years back, I got curious. What is microalgae biomass and why can it be converted into biofuel? It was my first time to hear a new word and it got my curiosity. Microalgae. And of course, I Googled it. When I Googled it, this is the image that I found in Google. It was my first time hearing it. Although, when I knew about it, which is algae, we see it everywhere. I've been seeing it all my life, ever since I was a kid, whenever I go to the beach, or whenever I look at traveling, going to places, I see microalgae. So what is microalgae? So at that time, did I know that it can be converted into biofuel. So microalgae is a photosynthetic microorganism, like a plant that grows in brackish water, salt water, and fresh water under the influence of carbon dioxide and sunlight. And the good thing about this is it can be converted into biofuel. So microalgae as a source of energy, the microorganism that is capable of all year-round production, and cultivating it requires less land area for cultivation. And it can produce high oil yield per hectare compared to coconut, as we use currently in converting biofuels, soybean, canola, and other food crops that is used for biofuel production. And it does not affect human food supply and can produce other byproducts such as carbohydrates, protein, and other biocompounds. So as I read about it, I got more curious about algae and what its capability. So when I search about it, there are a lot of applications on microalgae, not just for biofuels, but it can also be used for human food, animal food, and food supplements. And not just that, it can be also used in pharmaceutical applications. And the good thing about algae is it is gold. It is green that can be converted to gold by producing high valued products, not just for fuel, for livestock markets, but also for pharmaceutical and cosmetics. So it is a high valued product that we can just see everywhere. And the good thing about Philippines is it's a tropical country where there's a lot of microalgae species in the country. So it's a lot in the Philippines. So we are lucky. And it turns out this microorganism changed the course of my life. And algal research, by converting it into biofuel, requires many processes. And it requires a multidisciplinary knowledge. At that time, I did not know that. I was just an engineering student, wants to finish my thesis. But as I learn about microalgae, there's a lot to learn on, especially on growing it, because we have to produce it for us to use it to biofuel. So we require biology experts that will help us understand what is really in this species. And of course, we want to understand its chemical composition. That's why we need help from biochemists. And at that time, my thesis was about drying it, because drying it consumes 50-70% of the entire production line, which is energy cost. The issue was energy cost. And the effect of the drying process to the quality of the algae biomass when we try to convert it is also an issue. So designing a dryer that can dry the algae so that we can pre-treat it before we convert it into biofuel is a must, is significant in that time. And our team, that's not just me, our research team, composed of many students, explored different drying techniques. And at that time, my research was doing microwave drying. And to design the microwave, it requires ample knowledge, especially on the physics, on how the microwaves behave. And luckily, because of our findings and the help of my mentors, we were able to publish IAPAC journals and also awarded as an outstanding undergraduate research, and was also recognized by the National Academy of Science and Technology and was awarded Magsaysay Young Engineers and Technologies Award. However, this did not stop me. After I graduate, I published a paper, and I was lucky. I gave up the opportunity to work in the industry as a licensed mechanical engineer and continued working on this microorganism that we called algae. Maybe because of the motivation on how I started it in finding solutions and knowing what this microorganism is capable of. And it has the potential to help not just our farmers, but of course our country. So the addiction of research in solving problems and the interest of this microorganism made me pursue graduate studies. So at that time, the complexity of microalgae is not just on the process itself, but you also have to look at when you want to grow it and to cultivate it. So that time, there are a lot of parameters that supports the growth of microalgae. So of course, it's grown indoors, so you have to control everything. So it's like we want to control its temperature, nutrient concentration, and other factors that affects the growth of algae. And after that, we harvest it. And of course, with microalgae cultivation, the small scale growing of microalgae is not enough due to the large demands of its biomass. So there's a need to upscale the cultivation of algae from flasks or small bottles, they're what we call, to bigger bioreactors or aquariums. And I was more curious on how it grows, and we were fortunate to have a collaborator in the University of Arizona um, to help me with my research in using big photobioreactors or an aquarium, as I mentioned earlier, to grow the algae. And this opened up opportunities to give me a grant to study microalgae and bioreactors at the University of Arizona, which is funded by the USAID Stride. And it was a full year of experience of science research and also, of course, fun. And I visited a lot of UC schools to learn from them on how this algae grows. And after that, after my stint in the University of Arizona, I was lucky enough to have patent publications because of my supervisor that guided me. And after I went back to the Philippines, I deployed the technology here in the Philippines so that we can use it here in the Philippines. And because of my experience, we were fortunate enough to grow algae in the Philippines using different photobioreactors. And not just that, of course, with the interest of this microalgae microorganism that we can convert into biofuel, I wanted to explore what really is this organism, and what if we replace it or add it as an alternative biomass for biofuel. So I continued working on this topic and obtaining my PhD, putting together my PhD work in investigating the sustainability of this microorganism to explore more on its impact on climate change and, of course, sustainability. And this curiosity engaged me with different projects. And one of those, luckily, I was included by my mentor with the Future Earth Philippines program, where I got a chance to work with national scientists and academicians in the project in conceptualizing and even implementing the key factors on how we can achieve sustainability in the Philippines. So why am I telling you this? Because as our population increases, and I believe that probably it will reach 8 million this year. And for the Philippines, 110 million roughly, or 115. The Philippines has run on an ecological deficit for the past half century. And And this has been going on in the early 1960s. So ecological deficit means a footprint of a population exceeds the biocapacity of the area available in that population. So the question is, where are we going to get our next raw materials for food? We always have to look for new sources of food, a clean water to drink, and of course, the supply of electricity to provide power for our lifestyle. Because electricity is one of the most important commodity in our planet. Power up our cars, our gadgets, even our laptops, so that especially now in COVID-19, we can connect. Without electricity, we won't be able to connect. And of course, in the current era, where environmental and societal changes are rapid and complicated and interlinked with each other, and with the revolution of technology at our fingertips, a huge amount of electricity and power that is needed to sustain our current lifestyle. And because of this, the energy usage, or the more energy we consume as we, of course, improve our economic development, there's also an increase of greenhouse gas emissions that harms our environment. So we may be enjoying this lifestyle now, but probably years from now, there won't be enough energy supply, and also our planet won't be able to sustain it. And also, a recent data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration states that the atmospheric CO2 concentration is steadily increasing. And because of this, heat waves are experienced across the globe because of climate change. And because of the increasing temperature globally, there's a lot of projected impacts of climate change, which will, of course, have an impact to food, falling crop yields in many areas, water, sea level will rise, and of course, it threatens our major cities, ecosystem. So there will be a rising number of species that will face extinction. And of course, the rising intensity of storms, typhoons, as we all know, we experienced that in the Philippines. And of course, the natural disaster is inevitable. Forest fire, and of course, typhoons and flood that we experience in the Philippines. So in terms of ecological footprint, where are we? Where are we in the Philippines? So we have said that it is running on an ecological deficit. And what is the current ecological footprint of the Philippines? So the ecological footprint of the Philippines is, number one, is we're the third worst plastic producer. And of course, the third highest death rate due to outdoor and indoor pollution. And of course, the pollution caused by unsustainable mining and unsustainable agriculture. And the Philippines is not just experiencing it, it has been experienced globally. And because of that, the UN created the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, where it was adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action. So this can be to end poverty, to protect our planet, of course, from us, and of course, to ensure that by 2030, people enjoy peace and prosperity. So I hope this has been extended, because it's almost 2030. So we will know probably a few years from now if we have achieved it. But of course, here in this data, we are slowly getting there, especially on the SDG 7, where people can have access to affordable and clean energy. So the data before in 2010, there were 1.2 billion people without access to electricity. And this has been improved in 2017. So currently, I think this has been improved by a lot. So we have been improving because of science and technology. And not just that, energy matters, because especially now we are in COVID-19 pandemic. And there's a there's an urgent need for affordable and reliable energies, especially for hospitals to treat patients, for communities to pump clean water, and access, of course, vital information to island, especially us in the Philippines, where we are archipelagic country, and of course, and for out of school children to learn remotely. So energy is a crucial commodity because it is indispensable to economic growth. It is the country's driver towards global competitiveness, and it is the instrument for poverty reduction and social equity. And it can be an environmental dimensions of energy policy. And of course, with the rising issues locally and globally, as I mentioned earlier, what is the role of science and technology? So that is the big question. What is the role of science and technology in our country, in the Asia Pacific region, and in the world? We have evolved from prehistoric era, and now we have reached the digital age. The technology is at our fingertips. We are at Industry 4.0, where people are connected, where machines are connected, where we have smart systems, we have AI, we have a lot of technologies that is in our hands. But still, there's still a lot of issues to tackle. But with the aid of technology, we can solve these issues. And I myself, as a researcher on science and technology, what is my purpose? So the purpose of research on science and technology is to provide knowledge as a societal good. So this can be provide knowledge for our country, for our LGUs, for globally, and to provide solutions on national, regional, and world problems. And of course, we enrich the national talent pool with people able to compete in a knowledge-based global economy. And the roles of academia is, of course, us, I'm in the academia, is to transmit knowledge, to create knowledge, and act as a public knowledge resource. The Department of Science and Technology has published its first book series, The Science for the People. So this features different success stories in applying science and technology towards the development of projects, small, medium companies, startup companies, and different local communities where because of science and technologies, they have improved. And one of our projects I worked on before is on aquaculture, where we try to help farmers provide a technology that can help them harvest a certain microorganism or algal mat, what they call it lablab locally, to harvest it and to feed it into to milkfish. So in the next slide, I'll be showing you a video. So that was our project from I think 2 years ago, where uh, we we partnered with a company where they had a problem in harvesting those filamentous algae and algal mat, and they call it lab to feed it into different bangus fingerlings so that it can provide for nutrition. So the problem there was we need a supply for a year-round production, because during rainy season it does not thrive. So there is a need for science and technology to be able to help farmers and that company uh, to give them assistance uh, on how we can preserve and also utilize the 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 aquaculture product from that biomass, derived from that biomass all year round. And another project with in collaboration with the Seaweeds Industry Association of the Philippines, where we try to dry um, the seaweed in offshore. So this is the project site.
The seaweed industry in the Philippines is a billion peso industry. There are over 8,000 species of seaweeds in the world. Capophycus alvarezi is a type of red seaweed that can be extracted for carriginan. The team looked over numerous dryer designs and made a new modular hybrid design. The offshore seaweed dryer, OSD, has a capacity of 30 kilos wet seaweed. The OSD monitors the temperature and humidity of the drying chamber of the interior and exterior. The OSD has a variable fan speed control, which can be changed through text message. Passive healing elements include a heatsink and a Fresnel lens. The best run had a moisture content of 40% in 24 hours. This will allow the farmer to dry seaweed year-round instead of relying on the weather. Efficiency of the dryer was at 60%. Now there is a new dryer for seaweed farmers.
So eventually, we were able to improve the dryer, and we tried to coordinate with that CIAP, or the Seaweed Industry Association of the Philippines, to have the farmer to let the farmer use that so that they can dry their seaweed onshore and offshore. So each of us has a vision of success. So if you are pursuing a career in science and technology, well, it is not overnight. It is a step-by-step process. If you want to, it is like if you want to play online games, like me. Sometimes I play online games, or I play games, and we call it leveling or stages in a quest. But here in real life, our quest and purpose may be solving global problems or making a contribution to society. And oftentimes, like online games, it comes with a reward. And the first and most critical step, especially when we look at our career or even the things that we want to choose, the first critical step is on the path is to have a plan. To be clear, having a plan is different than having a goal. So a lot of us has goals. A lot of us, this can be advancing to the next year level, or probably earning more money, or even, as I did before, losing weight. No? But without a plan, achieving these goals will extremely be difficult, or practically you will doom to fail. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So my tip number one for you guys who is probably pursuing a career in science and technology, or taking up science and technology STEM, is, of course, you have to find your passion. You have to find it passion. So in life, whatever career we take on, it can be not in STEM, but in other careers as well. We have to find our passion, because it will be our fuel in the career that we take on. It may be like me, I have an interest in sports, in art and history as well. So you have to find your interest and you can connect it in what you're currently doing so that you can enjoy it. My tip number two is to find the next big thing. So if you're pursuing science and technology has been an innovation. So technology has been evolving over the years with billions, imagine billions of people improving different technologies. So what you're thinking now, it may have been done in other countries. So it always pays off to think outside of the box, not just in your career in science and technology, but in probably other careers as well, and find the next big thing that will arise. And it will really help you in your career. And of course, all of us has been guided by a mentor. So here, naniniwala ba kayo na experience is the best teacher? So I'll assume, no? Sasabihin nyo na, oo. But actually, experience is the worst teacher. Kasi kailangan mo munang mag-fail bago ka matuto. So, in my experience, para itong love life, no? Joke lang, no? Pero yun. So, kailangan mo muna mag-fail bago ka matuto. Pero, having a mentor will help you a lot in your career. That will tell you what he or she already experienced. And of course, maituturo niya sa'yo yung previous failures niya before ka mag-fail. And also, he will strategize it with you, no? So having a mentor will help you a lot in the career that you want to take as he or she experience it, no? So yeah. So, and of course, their advice to you will guide you throughout your career or even in life. And of course, solving global problems in science and technology requires a multidisciplinary approach. So you need to have colleagues or collaborator who share the same vision and passion. So para itong mga teammates natin, no? So this will be your teammates. So it is like sports. So if you want to win, if you want to accomplish something, you need teammates that will help you achieve your goal. And each and every one of you will help each other. And along my journey, I was blessed to have collaborators in which gained me access to different conferences, talks, for me to learn in different fields. And the last two tips that I'll be sharing to you is about the most important thing whenever your career and also in your life. And this is attitude and grit. All of us can be skillful, intelligent, but without the right attitude, you'll eventually plateau and will not be able to reach your goals. I always compare my work or my life with my research as my life when I was still an athlete. Well, I'm still an athlete now, but I still compare it because we have to have the right mindset when we want to achieve something. So your attitude translates to your behavior, your action, which provides solutions. And of course, it's a cyclic behavior, no? Where you have results, performance. No? And when I was an athlete, there were ups and downs. It's not having a good form in your game or having, or I've had a bad practice. It's the same thing in life, in whatever career you take. And in my case, in research, you will have bad days or even not get the results that you want in your task for today. But of course, you have to push your limits. With the right attitude comes a lot of opportunities. So if you just do your part and let you believe in yourself, your goals and plans will and the opportunity will just knock at your door. So one of the most important thing, you'll be hardworking, you'll be pushing your limits, but without this, you'll eventually burn out. So my tip for you guys, if you are probably pursuing a program on STEM or even in science and technology, career in science and technology, is to be able to breathe and enjoy. It is nice to be obsessed with your work. However, we don't have to revolve ourselves around our work. We should always find something to do outside work. So it can be an activity that's not concerned with your work. Working on your career is important, and as you work with your plans, pressure will be there. So it is really important to breathe and enjoy. We have to look at our physical, mental, and spiritual health. It is always part of the assessment that you have to check from time to time. And it would be nice if you can integrate this to your plans, have a weekend getaway, learn a new hobby, and exercise. And make it a habit to just breathe and relax. I'm sure it will have an impact to your work. Relax, refresh, and of course, recharge. So in my case, besides work that I'm currently doing on research, what I do is I do triathlons. I do biking outside. I get to explore the Philippines by biking. I get to enjoy and interact with my friends. So it is really good for your mental health. And of course, having a passion and career in science and technology is a journey that will enlighten you on different kinds of world problems that will expand your horizon in the global world. All of us and you are the future of science and technology. Just enjoy the journey as it will be a fruitful one. Ang sabi nga ni Dr. Jose Rizal, ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. Samahan ito ng siyensya at teknolohiya, malayo ang mararating para sa ating mahal na inang bayan. Maraming salamat.
Once again, that's Dr. Andres Philip Mayol. Thank you very much, Sir Andres Philip. No? What an inspiring and interesting talk on sustainability. And I'm sure our viewers have learned so much from your journey, especially on how science has created an impact on you in your cause to forward sustainability. I think specifically your algal research. So, sir, for that, our participants here on Zoom have some questions for you. So, sir, I hope you don't mind if I read the questions.
Okay po.
Okay, so if you are given the chance, sir, to lead the youth in resolving sustainability issues, which among these issues would be your topmost priority?
Hello, sorry, may nag-choppy lang doon, may nagsalita. Ano po ulit yun? Hello?
Yes, sir. If you are given the chance to lead the youth in resolving sustainability issues, which among these issues would be your topmost priority?
Well, I'm currently working on energy, and energy is connected to a lot of issues because when we want to produce energy, we need water, we need resources, and then we need a lot of expertise. So, if I were to lead the youth, to prepare them for the upcoming probably issues in their careers or even at their early age, I want to focus on education because I think education is vital in every aspect in our life. Without the right education and the proper education, we won't be able to solve these problems. So I think one of the most important things that I want to focus on, especially on preparing the youth for the future, is by educating them.
Thank you, Sir Andres. What an amazing answer. I think you really serve as an inspiration to our youth, to our viewers this afternoon. So, sir, well, in connection to that, since you are very young, we have here quite a personal question. You earned your doctorate degree at a very young age, Sir Andres, despite being a football star player. So how did you manage to balance your studies and your love for sports, sir?
Oh, okay. So at first, it was really hard at that time. So, I mean, I mentioned that being a student athlete is not a joke because sa umaga pa lang, pagod ka na sa training, and then you have to go to class to of course, to learn. And it takes a lot of your energy. But I guess I mentioned earlier is the attitude and grit. You usually have to push yourself. No? Kailangan lang natin, and then schedule natin ng maayos yung ating schedule throughout the day. So I think yung planning is really important. It's not easy, but it will be rewarding at the end of the day.
Wow, thank you, Sir Andres, no? So, ayan, no, yung ating learners, I hope narinig po ninyo, no? I think it's important, according to Sir, no, to manage your time. And of course, you really have to have that grit, no? That grit attitude, that perseverance in you for you to be able to succeed or, yeah, to balance your studies and your passion. In Sir Andres's case, that's sports. Okay, so I think we have here one last comment from Wave Play. Allow me to read this. This is from, I think, a student from Christy Mendoza. To have a scientific mind is to consider the balance of nature. No? In other words, sustainability raw po. And it's okay to be futuristic, however, with love for nature. Yan. What an insight from our learner named Christy. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you very much, sir, for that. Of course, allow us to award this certificate of recognition. Let me read the citation, sir. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, DepEd Complex, Meralco Avenue, Pasig City, Certificate of Recognition. This certificate is awarded to Dr. Andres Mayol in recognition of his contribution as a resource speaker during the 2022 National Science and Technology Fair held via a virtual event platform on August 2 to 5, 2022. Given this second day of August 2022 in Pasig City, Philippines. So, sir, please receive that virtual certificate of recognition.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you very much, Sir Andres Mayol. So there you have it. Thanks, everyone. This has been Janine Almeida Mendoza. Have a amazing afternoon.
This day and age proves to be very exciting for women around the world as more and more women join a field that is otherwise dominated by men: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. The panel discussion we have prepared for you this afternoon showcases the beautiful minds of women in STEM. We have with us this afternoon Dr. Gay Jane Perez, Deputy Director General of the Space Science and Technology of the Philippine Space Agency. We also have Ms. Rina Lopez, President of the Knowledge Channel Foundation. Also with us this afternoon is Ms. Graciela Mendoza, Program Head of the Learner and Community Education of the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. We are also joined by Dr. Chona Camille Abeledo, Associate Professor of the Biology Department of the College of Science of De La Salle University, Manila. And of course, to help us facilitate this surely stirring discussion, we have Ms. Lenartes Lights Viloria of the International Labor Organization.
All right. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you, Ayat, for that introduction, and welcome to our guests and audience today who are here for our panel on women in STEM. So truly, we live in exciting times with technological changes changing the way we do work. With more girls are in school today than ever before, these are exciting opportunities for women to thrive in the careers in STEM. However, according to UNESCO data, only 35% of STEM students in higher education globally are women in STEM disciplines. In our work in the ILO Women in STEM program, we see that across Southeast Asia, women face a variety of challenges that reduce their entry, retention, and advancement in these respective industries. First, for a variety of reasons, fewer women tend to enter fields or even take vocational courses relating to STEM. Second, those that too often face challenges of placement vis-a-vis their male counterparts due to gender bias in the hiring processes of firms are facing these kinds of discrimination. Once within firms, women employees in these industries are typically faced with challenges both within their firms and from societal expectations. And finally, they often are, or sometimes even overlooked in terms of career advancement at both the levels and the lower ranks of the positions, and with regard to moving into senior managerial roles. Today, joining our panel discussion are four inspiring women who are trailblazers and enablers for women and girls in STEM. These women are champions not only for women in STEM, but for STEM in general in their respective areas of work. Let's listen to their stories of their work in STEM, and may this spark the fire in all of you, especially for our girls to be a woman in STEM, or for our teachers out there, support girls for women in STEM. So, wag na tayo magpahintay-hintay pa. Let's start off our story, our journey sharing. Started off by Miss Graciela Mendoza, Executive Director of the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. The floor is yours, Graciela.
Director Jocelyn Andaya, my co-panelists, Dr. Gay Jane Perez, Ms. Rina Lopez, Dr. Chona Camille Vince Cruz Abilado, To all our educators, students, and everyone watching via Facebook Live, good afternoon. For the past 30 years, the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation has dedicated itself to its mission of building the future through education. Our founder, the late Mr. John Gokongwei Jr., believed that education is the only way to save our country and that we need to strengthen science and math in order to help our country industrialize. It is therefore GBF's conviction that a strong Philippine economy can be realized if our young will not only have access to quality education, but more importantly, if they are developed to become digitally adept workers, critical thinkers, and innovative problem solvers who can contribute to the growth of their communities. This, we believe, can be achieved if we strengthen science and technology, engineering, and mathematics education in our country. We are committed to contributing to our nation's progress by helping develop our future STEM workforce. With this, it is my privilege to share with you today how GBF envisions the future of STEM education in line with NSTF's theme this year. There are three things that we want to highlight for this talk. First, we believe that the future of STEM education is going to be driven by the quality of our STEM teachers. Second, a close multi-sectoral collaboration will be needed to support the transformation of STEM education. Third, we need to scale access, given how wide the reach needs to be, and we will leverage on technology and innovation to create and sustain this. First, we believe that our science and math teachers will be at the core of the future of STEM education. In discovering how best we can help improve education, we saw that the teachers have the most multiplier effect that would enable us to scale and sustain our impact on learners. By helping one teacher, we will be able to help many students. Thus, we chose to place our focus on STEM educators' professional development. We have a Teach Them scholarship that we are growing aggressively. This scholarship caters to teachers and aspirants taking up their bachelor's or master's degree in science or math education. We are on our way to support up to 1,000 teacher scholars by 2025. Through Teach Them, we have supported young women teacher scholars like Musliha Salik, who recently graduated as summa cum laude from Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology. In this year's International Conference for Science Educators and Teachers at Konkan University, Thailand, Musliha won Most Outstanding Presenter. With more young STEM teachers like Musliha, we believe that the future of STEM is bright. Aside from our teacher scholarships, we seek to create more direct, scalable, and sustainable initiatives for STEM teachers and learners. For our project Future, we engaged IDEO, a global expert and pioneer in design thinking, to help us ideate a K-12 educators' professional development program platform. We recently went through a discovery journey to probe deeper into the challenges and opportunities for teacher professional development, speaking to 130 stakeholders, government officials, education experts, industry leaders, students, parents, and many, many teachers revealed very insightful realities and challenges the teachers face. Using these insights, we are prototyping and testing a STEM educators learning app that will help teachers first improve their content mastery through bite-sized modules. Second, have better understanding of their students' learning needs and translate that into more engaging and relatable ways of teaching math and science through a guided class builder. Third, gain inspiration and try new methods from trusted resources based on the experience of other educators through expert coaching. We also believe that we have not yet maximized the potential benefits of peer learning. Thus, we are also supporting STEM educators communities such as UP Nismed's Kasayans at Kamath, or Kasama community that has been providing quality webinars and resources to over 5,000 teachers in the previous year. Right now, we are piloting STEM CoLab, capacity building program for teachers, combining open space technology and social learning while leveraging on DepEd's Learning Action Cell sessions. Our second point, we believe the future of STEM lies in a close multi-sectoral collaboration to help build the ecosystem needed to sustain transformation. As all of us are stakeholders in education, we've seen that students can improve when their parents and their community are involved in their development. Last year, GBF forged a partnership with AHA Learning Center, JG Summit Olefins Corporation, Huawei, and Batangas City LGU to create Juan Kapatid Batangas, a remediation program in reading and math to uplift learners. In Juan Kapatid Batangas, we helped improve learners' numeracy and literacy skills through teaching at the right level or TAR approach, and also provided sessions to support their social emotional development. We harnessed the power of language to create new mindsets, a sense of identity, and build confidence. We called our learners, who were historically lagging in class, achievers, and their parents, super parents. We advocated the line, "Kaya kong subukan," to affirm the learners' efforts in trying. This taught them that it was okay to make mistakes and to seek help. Through the days, "Kaya kong subukan" became "Kaya kong gawin." They started seeing what they could learn, perform, and become. We hope that eventually, that "Kaya kong gawin" will become "Kaya kong magbigay" as they grow and learn to also support their fellow learners. From November 2021 to April 2022, our achievers showed encouraging progress. 100% matched expected competencies in math, and 82% moved up to a higher literacy level. 86% said that they have gained more confidence in doing their lessons. 90% of super parents share that they too learned a skill that they can apply to help manage themselves better. In the videos, we'll see one of our achievers, CJ, is able to read after 4 months in the Juan Kapatid Batangas program.
Subo, kaya mo kaya? Okay. Okay lang. Nagbukas ang akip. Salamat, bata.
Most importantly, we saw the students gain back their confidence and courage to dream big.
Ang napansin ko po nung mula po akong nag-JKBA, baka po ako naging confident. Dahil po dati, hindi po talaga ako makapag-recite sa school. Pero ngayon pong nagka-confidence na po ako, kaya ko.
With multi-sectoral programs like One Kapatid, we witnessed that truly there is strength in collaboration. As we see some programs become effective, the next opportunity now is looking at how might we scale these initiatives, which brings us to our third key point. We believe that a bright future for STEM education is within reach if we are able to scale access to effective programs, leveraging on technology and innovation to do so. Given the changes in the educational landscape, we need to continually seek new ideas in instructional techniques and design to engage our learners in a more effective manner. The solution we seek with our partnership with IDEO for our Educators Development Flagship Program, Project Future, is grounded in a human-centered approach to innovation, wherein we build empathy and understand what truly matters to our learners and educators. We are also exploring this solution using digital technology applications with the hope to expand reach. These are the same efforts that we are looking at for scholarships. What models can we look at to scale scholarship access and community remediation? We see technology playing a big role. Impacting quality of education needs a long-range perspective and endurance. GBF is committed to continue to collaborate, innovate, and explore solutions to uplift the quality of our STEM education for the long haul. It is both our goal and our hope to be able to achieve a globally competitive Philippines with a competent STEM workforce. While the challenges we face may seem daunting, especially with the setbacks brought about by the pandemic, we believe that if we innovate, persevere, and work together, promising future for STEM education is within reach. To close, I'd like to share GBF's 30th anniversary battle cry and encourage everyone by saying, walang imposible. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Chrisella, for sharing the initiatives of Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. Truly, it's the work that you are doing at the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation is not just promoting women in STEM, but actually providing, the enabling environment to promote STEM education. I love what you shared about STEM educators' professional development, especially for the teachers here. I hope some of you have already checked out their scholarships for STEM educators. And of course, this Teach STEM scholarship expansion, wherein also teachers for STEM are built, the capacity for this is built as well. Idea, design, thinking. Gusto ko rin tong STEM communities, no? We learn better if we are learning through a community, how we are empowering our learners by calling them achievers. And of course, kapartner talaga natin dyan ang ating mga super parents, because when you are learning together with your parents and they understand this learning process, it truly is a more meaningful process that we can embark on. No? So if you have any questions, by the way, for our speakers, please don't hesitate to place it on the chat box. We'll read it later. I know pag marami tayong naririnig on these ideas, mabilis mawawala. So just if you have a reaction, please share it on the chat box here, and we will share it with you later during our Q&A. Okay, thank you, Ms. Graciela. And our next speaker, if you are aware of shows like Abhang Aralin, Musikantahan, Animahinasyon ng Knowledge Channel, we are very lucky today to hear, for the work that is being done at the Knowledge Channel, no other than the founder herself of Knowledge Channel, Ms. Rina Lopez, CEO of the Knowledge Channel. Ms. Rina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. To the Department of Education, headed by its Secretary and the Vice President of the Philippines, Honorable Sara Z. Duterte, and to the DepEd's Bureau of Curriculum Development Director, Jocelyn Andaya, thank you so much for inviting me to be a panelist in this year's National Science and Technology Fair with the theme, Expanding the Horizon, Futures of STEM. To my co-panelists, student researchers, teachers, supervisors, school heads, and other stakeholders here in Zoom today, or are watching via DepEd Philippines official Facebook page. A pleasant day to all of us. Kulang ang mga kababaihan sa mga larangan ng agham at teknolohiya. Based on the recent UNESCO Science Report, there is currently a gender disparity in terms of women's involvement and representation in the fields of STEM. Only 33 or 35% of researchers are women, despite the fact that they represent 45 and 55% of students at the bachelor's and master's level of study, respectively, and 44% of those enrolled in PhD programs. Additionally, while 70% of health and social care workers are women, they are paid less, 11% less than their male counterparts. In the Philippines, just 2 in 7 engineering students are female. Only 41% of students taking IT-related courses are women, and women make up only 43% of STEM enrollments, and mostly in non-engineering or non-IT fields, according to statistics from the CHED. Even at that, women in STEM-related industries are often relegated in low-skilled positions and are less likely to progress professionally in the Philippines, despite the country being classified to have achieved gender parity. Based on ILO estimates, women in the Philippines are 140% more likely to lose their job due to automation than men. There are those hidden biases. Women are essential in nation building, and their involvement in STEM would enable a more holistic way of understanding and solving various societal issues. And to face a future in STEM, we must be able to encourage girls to remain open to developing all their math and science talents and give them the right environment to maximize their potentials. Notable women and scientists are those you see on the slide. In this regard, I'm proud to share with you that I am a woman in STEM. Being the co-founder and the CEO of the Knowledge Channel Foundation, KCFI has been an active and highly engaged stakeholder in addressing the issue of women's representation in STEM through the implementation of various activities that provide opportunities for transformative learning through media and technology. We acknowledge that girls may start to lose interest in STEM subjects as early as the 4th grade, according to the Philippine Business for Education Survey of Learners from selected national science high schools in the country. From a young age, girls are normalized into thinking that STEM is not for them, that they naturally lack promise in math and science subjects, and that only men can do well in those careers. These negative stereotypes rest on the assumption that girls lack the innate ability needed for success in STEM fields. In this regard, we need to emphasize how skills change and develop over time. To challenge this belief, In KCFI, we promote the idea of children, including and especially girls, adopting and developing growth mindset, or the belief that their abilities can be developed as opposed to being static and unchangeable. We have an educational series called Math Dali. The series is inspired by the positive norms, key strategies, and the classroom approaches from Joe Baller's math mindset, what's math got to do with it, and as well as the importance of number talks in Kathy Humphries and Ruth Parker's Making Number Talks Matter. Each episode of Math Dali illustrates a math concept through real-life situations that aims to positively change how to learn math, develop conceptual understanding, critical thinking, and problem solving, allowing the students to learn in new ways and making the learning experience both interesting and exciting. On the other hand, we have also implemented efforts to increase students' interest in science. Together with various groups within the Lopez Group of Companies, we developed a program called Agham para sa Pagbabago. It focuses on science education and communication skills, with initial emphasis on grade 3, when science learning formally begins, and on grade 7, when students begin exploring career pathways. Through this project, initially implemented in a selected site in Labo, Batangas, in coordination with the Center for Integrated STEM Education, or SYSTEM, and Filipino Science Hub, or PhilSci Hub, we are doing the following. Revisiting the curriculum guide and lesson plans with 21st century skills and competencies, with a strong focus on climate change adaptation, marine and terrestrial biodiversity and protection, agriculture, technology, health, and communication. Secondly, we provide learning materials in the form of video lessons. And third, we train science educators on content knowledge, teaching approaches, and communication skills to make learning science meaningful and engaging for the children. The goal is for the young girls and boys to love science and develop a scientific mind of critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills, and the communication skills to solve their problems and to communicate it, thereby fostering innovation. We'll encourage those that have the interest and aptitude to go into the STEM track. In doing these interventions, we hope to break the negative thinking of girls towards STEM at an early stage, hoping that we give them the confidence they need to succeed in this field. As jobs change around the world, STEM offers women a chance to choose how, when, and where they work. There's a huge talent shortage in tech, one that is primarily female, and we can bridge a gap by building a young pipeline of women entering and thriving in STEM. Kailangang maitungo sa kaisipan ng marami. Ang STEM ay hindi para sa matalino ngayon lamang. Ang STEM ay hindi para sa mga lalaki lang. More than developing a growth mindset, I think we also need to acknowledge that interventions at the early childhood phase is key. Science tells us that brains are built and not born. And so I say that to truly affect the change or make a dent in the gender disparity on STEM representation in the Philippines, we need to start from when children are very young. For children to learn early language literacy, numeracy, values, executive function, and self-regulation, we need to support them with the materials with which to learn from, and to support their teachers and caregivers with the knowledge, skills, and the values with which to teach and help them to navigate this world. Early childhood is when the most massive and unimaginable development happens in the brain, and when it is most sensitive to the environment. Neuroscience has told us that 90% of the brain development happens before the age of 5, and the enriching or adverse experiences of a child during this time affects his or her foundations in lifelong health, learning, and behavior, with long-term consequences in schooling, diseases, and productivity and earnings. 1 out of 3 Filipino children under 5 years old is stunted. Our country ranks 9 out of 80 countries with the largest number of stunted children. More than 50% of 3 to 4-year-olds do not attend preschool, and for those in preschool, only 1 out of 4 are served by accredited daycare workers. And yet, various studies have shown that even just 1 year of quality preschool makes a big difference in the trajectory of their life. Poor nutrition, lack of early learning stimulation, and adverse conditions greatly affect children's learning. Almost 4 million children are forced to leave school due to serious learning gaps in the early years. And so, as it takes a village to raise a child, the capacities of parents, caregivers, teachers, family members who share in the responsibility and care for young children are essential. This is the reason we are now putting a lot of effort in early childhood development, or ECD, in video content and in training the people who are involved in the care of children in their early years. We have also started to produce videos for pre-kindergarten, early language literacy and numeracy, English, Filipino, and math for grades 1 to 3. This will help all students, especially girls, be more engaged and have the prerequisite skills to learn grade 4 math, science, and other subjects. Watch out for Wikaharian, Ready, Set, Read, and Math Dali. The program I mentioned earlier, Agham para sa Pagbabago, implemented the learning effectively through enhanced and evidence-based pedagogies, LEAP program for advanced science education in the Lobo, Batangas area. From the initial 2 schools in Malabrigo, we shifted to online, thus dubbed Knowledge Channel Teaching in the New Normal Science, to differentiate it from the in-person LEAP. And around many participants attended this. Teacher knowledge and encouragement is indeed critical. Equipping and preparing young children's caregivers and teachers to encourage their curiosity, support their explorations and experimentations, and general inclination to science and math. The initiative in Lobo, Batangas included 8 schools trained in LEAP science, and another training was conducted in May for capacity enhancement on science for elementary and high school teachers. This also included the implementation of LEAP Science Lobo first mentoring session and the more recent KCH training on how to use the Knowledge Channel portable media library. There's really so much to do. As a woman in STEM, and along with my co-workers at the Knowledge Channel, we will continue to advocate programs that support young children, especially girls, provide them engaging learning materials as foundation for STEM in various technologies, and build the capacity of teachers and caregivers to engage and help children in their learning. I truly wish us all well and that this year's fair serves as a positive catalyst for the change we want to see very soon. As we always say at the Knowledge Channel, ang saya matuto ng bago. Mabuhay tayong lahat. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Rina. Always inspiring to hear the amazing Miss Rina Lopez of the Knowledge Channel. And all of us who grew up in the Knowledge Channel always love science because of the Knowledge Channel, no? I am reminded by the activities that Ms. Rina was mentioning. You know, we have 4 STEM competencies: critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, and collaboration. And as the Knowledge Channel is actually doing, you know, they're teaching us to think creatively, think critically, think communicate, because we are able to understand science in a better way. At the same time, you know, by working in teams, doing collaborative activities. And I think this is a lot of what the Knowledge Channel has been doing. And I took note, Rina, of what you were mentioning, especially the life cycle approach. We cannot approach STEM at the end of the line. We have to start also from preschool education and making early childhood education, making sure that they have the right nutrition, the right lessons, the right materials, and even our teachers. No, and this is something that we in the Women in STEM program have been doing with TESTA, enabling them, giving them the skills. How do you teach this? You know, so we have teachers here who are tuned in. No, I'm sure you, while you get inspired, you also want to have that skills. How do I teach? Especially teaching in the new normal, sabi nga ni Ms. Rina, no, with the pandemic, now that we're on Zoom, how do you actually teach these things? Do you have the technologies? We have pictures of teachers, you know, going up the roof to be able to get connectivity. And these are, you know, these are standing challenges that we have. Pero sabi nga, ang sarap matuto ng bago. And I think the Knowledge Channel is continuing to live with that tradition of learning in science. So thank you very much, Rina, for that. So just update, we have 300 online right now listening in. So our journey sharing continues. This time we go from our STEM enabler, Women in STEM, we go now to those who are working there and on the field. So we have next Dr. Chona Camille Vince Cruz Abiledo of the De La Salle University. She will share her cool ways of making science cool for girls, and at the same time, her exciting research that she's doing on the field. The floor is yours, Doc Chona.
Thank you so much for that. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I hope everybody can share my screen, see my screen. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Happy National Science and Technology Fair at maligayang buwan ng wika po sa inyong lahat. I am very much honored to share a panel with such esteemed women in STEM, amazing leaders in STEM, such as Director General Gay Jane Perez, Director Rina Lopez, and Ms. Graciela Mendoza. As mentioned earlier, ako po si Chona. Isa po akong CNTP. I'm a scientist, and as a scientist, I study how different molecules inside a cell reacts to the environment. Ako rin po ay isang guro. I'm also a teacher. And as a teacher, I've been with the Department of Biology of the De La Salle University since 2007, teaching a wide variety of fun and exciting subjects from genetics to ecology, from sustainability to proteomics and genomics. And I'm also a science communicator and a content creator. Isa po akong YouTuber. I create videos and social media content in my channel and page called Ciencia, in my hopes to add a voice of truth in the digital ecosystem of the Philippines and the world, to show the great diversity of people in STEM, and hopefully also to inspire more of the youth to join our wonderful community. Now, when I get invited to talks like this, it's always a chance to reflect Why did I go into the field of STEM? As mentioned by our previous speakers, there are fewer women in the field of STEM. And as a child, I also recall having very few female role models. And that's why my primary reason for going into the field of STEM was my father. He was an engineer. He was well respected among his peers. Sobrang lodi ko po ang aking tatay. And it was a dream to be like him. Apart from that, what's amazing about my father is that he made me feel that as a girl, that I can do anything, be anything that I wanted. But as a child, because of the lack of female role models in STEM, it was actually fiction on paper and on film that pushed me towards the possibility of me becoming a scientist. It was characters like Uhura in Star Trek that lured me into the arms of STEM. It showed me the potential of what we can do as scientists to eradicate hunger and poverty. And once we've met that, perhaps to explore strange new worlds in outer space. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm so excited to hear from Director Perez later. And I guess that's also why in our lab, our work often starts out with a problem. Some of them are rooted in difficulties in identifying an organism. Sometimes we are led to work with strange new characteristics here on planet Earth, or in figuring out the connectedness of things. Most of the work we do involve working with the DNA, with the RNA, or even with proteins, and using them to find patterns in the physical characteristics of living things, and connecting the inner workings of living things with the environment. And so when it comes to the projects that we do species identification using a variety of technologies. And it's so exciting to live in the center of marine biology or marine biodiversity, because there seems to be so many organisms to identify. We also study the response of these organisms to the environment, especially climate change. And we like to connect the dots. We like to study the connection of various ecosystems with each other and see how our behavior, our pollution can affect nature, and use these inputs to perhaps help us achieve what is called a circular economy. Now, some of our major projects include Crabbyfire, which is a free Android-based mobile application for species identification in juvenile alimango. And we created this so that we can help our fishers and mangrove crab growers to select the species that they want to grow in their farms so that they can focus their limited resources to more productive activities. Apart from that, we also have what we call the Alinmango algorithm, which we sometimes describe as a dating app between farmers, mangrove crab farmers, and the source of crablets for their ponds. And we created this algorithm to help guide our growers to figure out where to buy their mangrove crabs to limit the losses that often happen when they purchase crablets that are not suited to the environment of their farms. And we also have a citizen science venture on plastic pollution called #EcoSquadGoals, where we provide high school students and local community members the ability to identify the different types of plastic waste that they have at home or even in the waters that surround them. And what we love about this is we get to coordinate, collaborate, and work with young people, with local community members on collecting vital information that can help shape different policies and different activities so that we can eventually figure out how do we lessen our plastic waste. Now, I'm very proud of the different projects that we do, but of course, I can't help it. Every once in a while, I often question if what we're doing is enough. And this is where the concept of imposter syndrome kicks in. I guess in a nutshell, I often describe it as our minds being our worst enemy because it amplifies every single thing that we do wrong. And we use those mistakes to justify our fear of claiming opportunities that we deserve as much as other people do. Now, imposter syndrome can affect anyone, regardless of job, social status, or gender. But high achieving individuals, especially high achieving females, are actually more prone to getting imposter syndrome. In fact, 75% of women leaders, compared to just about 33% of male leaders, have reported having suffered from imposter syndrome at one point in their lives. And a lot of this is because of the inherent biases against women, even in the field of STEM, that we still experience until today. But what helps me overcome this kind of anxiety is the unrelenting nature of STEM. It challenges me and my team to show the world that we can be as good as our international counterparts, if not better. It shows me or forces me to believe that what we do here in the Philippines is relevant, that it's interesting, and that it is worth learning about. And that we too, we Filipinos in STEM, the women in STEM, can be leaders in local, regional, national, and even international spheres. Now, at this point, I hope we always remember that the impact of our science goes beyond our labs. And so we must often think of the people we are trying to help. And to realize that in order for us to create innovations of worth, we have to have the humility to adopt a practice of lifelong learning, because there is always something more to learn, not just from our fancy degrees, but actually from the people that we're trying to help. Because one of the most amazing gifts that I've received in the past couple of years is the ability to have gotten in touch with the different communities that we hope to help. And as we reach out to these communities, we are also taught, and we always go home just a little bit wiser and carrying a lot more memories that help shape our science for the better. Now, when it comes to celebrating scientists, women in STEM, whenever we feel certain levels of anxiety, it's almost always because a person is being glorified as if she exists in a vacuum, because she's this great, amazing superhero role model. But one good thing for us to remember to combat our anxieties and for us to win against challenges pointed towards women is to remind ourselves that we are not alone and that good science can never really be done alone. So, as I said, often we see scientists celebrated as if they are alone in the deep blue sea or in outer space. And they are able to discover and invent because of their lone genius. But the thing is, despite all of the things we've already done, I'm not a genius, nor am I a superhero. So how is it that we have done all of these things? And this is because of the people around me. So I hope I can also use this opportunity to give thanks to my mentors who trained me I believe Dr. Menchi Lagman is here with us in Zoom. Without her, I wouldn't have amounted much as a scientist. To all my previous advisors, Dr. June Buot, Dr. Vermando Aquino, Dr. Liquanan, these mentors shaped how I look at the world and how I use the science that I have. And then beyond these amazing giants that on whose shoulders we stand upon, I have my colleagues, my collaborators, my students, my friends, my awesome team who explores strange new worlds with me, who seeks out new life and new innovations. And I'm very, very lucky. I'm very, very blessed that together we can boldly go and discover what few or no one has uncovered before. So once again, thank you so much for giving me time to share a snippet of what we do as scientists. And I'm looking forward to our discussions later and the questions from our audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Shona. Always an inspiring moment whenever I listen to Doc Shona. Nakita nyo, nakangiti ako the whole session kasi she's an example na nakakakilig ang mag-science, no? Just the work that she's doing. If you remember, she mentioned that she's doing work on molecular biology. For me, it's like molecular biology for me is like code breaking the mysteries, right? Mysteries of organisms, trying to understand how they work, why they move that way. And ang ganda nung nakwento kanina ni Miss Sean, yung citizen science, sana marami tayong citizen science reporters, no? Yung itong Eco Squad goals, like when you are in your community, you know, just being aware of what's around you, on how you are managing nature, how are you disposing of your waste is helpful. I remember I had a science teacher before, like when I had this discovery, they shifted the question to me, and now that you know, what are you going to do about it? How is it going to help your community? And I think this is the advocacy that Doc Chana is actually sharing with us, that you don't have to look so far, you know, you don't have to stay within the lab. Actually, the exciting part of science is actually outside the lab, and there's so many amazing things that you can discover. Saka yung sabi din ni Doc Chona na good science cannot be done alone. Alam nyo, yung mindset yun na akala nyo mag-isa lang siya, isang nerd na nandun lang sa lab, mag-isa. Actually, good science is really when you go outside, sabi ko nga kanina, yung isa sa STEM skills ay collaboration. You have to work with the team. You have to ask, tama ba itong findings ko? Ano yung nakita mo doon sa community nyo? Pareho ba to? Ano yung magagawa natin para masolusyonan ito, no? So that's the exciting world of science. And I think, you know, no matter whether you're a man or a woman, or especially sa atin, sa women, no, we are always about thinking about solutions for the community. And I think that's something that we can pick up on, no? Na, you know, your mindsets on women in science are actually people, these are women who are actually looking around the community on how they can help, how we can use our knowledge to provide better lives in the community. So, salamat, Doc Chona. Ayan. So, last but not the least, no, sabi nga kanina ni Doc Chona, no, isa sa mga inaabangan niyang talk ang talk ng ating susunod na speaker. Alam nyo, when I was sent by the US Department of State to NASA, you know, when I went there, I cried kasi like for a Filipina to be surrounded by space, all these things on astronomy was something for me groundbreaking. And I was thinking how I wish we Filipinos have that experience that they have at NASA. And that's why when I met Doc Gay a few years ago, and I said, oh my gosh, malapit na siya, no? Andito na, and she's doing amazing work on this. Bago pa lang ginawa ang National Science Agency. So, Philippine Science Agency, sorry. So, let's listen to the story, to the journey of Dr. Gay Jane Perez of the Philippine Space Agency. The floor is yours, Doc Gay.
Thank you, Ms. Lights. So you have my presentation here. So to DepEd Secretary and VP Sara Duterte, Director Joyce Lynn Andaya, co-panelist and moderator, and to all those joining us here today, a good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Gay Jane Perez, and I'm the Deputy Director General for Space Science and Technology at the Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA. It's a pleasure to be here in this panel alongside other women who significantly contributed to the field of STEM. I would like to start by sharing my journey on becoming a scientist, and hopefully at the end of this, you will see that space is not really as distant or as far as it may sound. Space is now within our reach, and that there really is space for everyone, including women. Let me start by taking some time and sharing a bit of my background. I started doing research as a physics student. Back then, I studied crowd evacuation dynamics using computer models. My interest in understanding the complexity of nature continued on during my postdoctoral studies at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, where I discovered the power of satellite data in providing the spatiotemporal variation of Philippine vegetation in response to climate and environmental changes. Equipped with additional tools for tackling complex problems, I went back to the Philippines and joined the Institute of Environmental Science and Meteorology in 2012. During the last 10 years, I received grants that supported several of my research projects on the practical use of satellite data and in developing tools in conjunction with models that enables environmental predictions. One of these projects is the Drought and Crop Assessment and Forecasting, or DCAF, where we collaborated with the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Soils and Water Management, and PAG-ASA to develop a mechanism to assess the severity of agricultural drought using different satellite measurements. The maps that we generated can be used by agricultural technicians and even farmers themselves as basis for applying the necessary intervention to minimize the adverse impact of droughts to their farms. Another research milestone is my involvement as project scientist for the Philippines' first microsatellites, Diwata-1 and Diwata-2. My journey continued as I contribute towards the build-up of the newly established Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA. But my journey in space did not really fully take off until I took part in the small satellite development of the country. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Diwata-1 and Diwata-2. Some of you may have seen me getting involved in the Diwata's development, as you can see in the picture here at upper left, and also even going on fieldworks to validate satellite products. Being both involved in the upstream, that is building the satellites, and the downstream, which is the utilization of space data for different applications, is equally challenging and exciting. But it was not just me. Being in the space sector is not a solo feat. So in talking about my contribution in space, I would like to highlight the various space programs that I've been part of, including what we are doing now at the Philippine Space Agency. As you can see here, the PhilSA was established in 2019. Actually, 1 week from now, PhilSA will be celebrating its 3-year anniversary. Now, you might be asking, what does having a space agency now mean to us? Well, as space is becoming increasingly more accessible, it signifies a crucial step for our country in building an integrated and sustainable national space program that will serve the country's needs, particularly in the following key development areas, which are national security and development, space research and development, hazard management and climate studies, space education and awareness, space industry capacity building, and international cooperation. Here we can see more broadly a timeline of recent history showing an overview of the various space science and technology activities that were developed over the past decade. The development of small satellites, Diwata and Maya, is of course a team effort and has resulted from years of partnership among universities and of course the support of our government for our space programs. In the past 5 years, we have been able to launch 6 small satellites into orbit and demonstrated that our country is capable of utilizing space to create value for our people. Starting in 2014, Filipino engineers got to build small satellites for Earth observation. in cooperation with Japanese universities. The Philippine first microsatellite Diwata-1 was built in 2015 and launched from the International Space Station in 2016. Successful contact with the satellite was established through our ground receiving station immediately after its launch, and it undertook its mission from 2016 to 2020 when it re-entered the atmosphere and ended its mission. The 50-kilogram microsatellite Diwata-1 was followed by a 1-kilogram educational and technology demonstration nanosatellite Maya-1, which was also built by Filipino scholars in Japan. Diwata-2, another 50-kilogram scientific Earth observation microsatellite that is a successor to Diwata-1, came next. Diwata-2 is still in operation and continues to give us valuable data. Now in the works is our next generation satellite, Mula. So PhilSA recently produced an EVP introducing Mula satellite, and let's take a moment to view it here.
When the Philippines began building satellites, we started small. As small as a suitcase. Yet the stakes were high and the challenges were great. After the success with 6 of these small satellites, the Philippines is ready for something bigger. In December 2020, the Philippines kicked off the Multispectral Unit for Land Assessment, or MULA satellite project. Weighing around 130 kilograms, MULA will carry a true color camera that can capture higher resolution images, covering around 73,000 square kilometers of our country in one day. Data from MULA satellite will be used for addressing food security, disaster resilience, environment conservation, and protecting our national sovereignty. The Department of Science and Technology jump-started the funding of MULA. The project was jointly implemented by the DOST, Advanced Science and Technology Institute, and the University of the Philippines, Diliman, in coordination with the Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA. 16 Filipino engineers who underwent a know-how training and transfer program in the UK are involved in building the satellite and are now part of PhilSA. The training capacitated our homegrown engineers, not just with knowledge, but the license to build more local commercial satellites in the future, leading the way for the creation of a robust and thriving space industry to support the country's space program. PhilSA will oversee the completion and launch of MULA and manage its operations. MULA in Ilocano means plant, pointing to the satellite's mission on food security. In Tagalog, it means point of origin or beginning, which symbolically signals the Philippines' foray into a new era in satellite development, toward the vision of a nation bridged, uplifted, and empowered through the peaceful uses of outer space.
So leveraging the existing initiatives of academic institutions and government agencies, PhilSA has launched its flagship programs, which are building satellite as vital component of national information infrastructure, which includes the development of MULA, and mobilizing space data for digital inclusion, economy, and government. So for the second flagship program, let me share with you how we mobilize space data for different applications. First, we have the COVID-19 Space Data Dashboard, which is a joint effort of the PhilSA, DOST-ASTI, and the Stamina for Space program. The dashboard provides a window to the application of satellite-derived data, such as traffic, air quality, water quality, and night lights, in understanding the impact of COVID-19 to our natural and built environment. The dashboard highlights the current capability in the utilization of space data and its usefulness in supporting subsequent policymaking and formulation. Aside from visualizations of different space data applications using different satellite data, I would also like to show some sample images taken by Diwata-2. We use these images for different coastal and land applications. Shown here are images of the largest coral reef system of the Philippines, the Upper Reef, and farmlands in Paway, Ilocos Norte. We can also task Diwata to capture other important landscapes in other countries like the Osaka ports in Japan or Abu Dhabi in UAE. Now Diwata is still in orbit and operation and taking images daily. The images are readily available and you can get them. So here's the link to the website. Given the Philippines' high vulnerability to natural hazards, the satellite data gathered is crucial for our disaster response operations. Here, our products were used by emergency responders and rescue workers during a landslide in Naga, Cebu. Built infrastructure such as houses and buildings are identified using high-resolution images and artificial intelligence. Overlaid satellite image taken after the landslide clearly shows its extent. With this map, first responders were able to pinpoint the location of houses that were buried underneath this landslide for timely rescue and recovery. We continue to monitor typhoon impacts with timely generation of flood maps, as demonstrated during Typhoon Agaton early this year. Inundated areas are effectively detected using SAR imagery, even at unfavorable weather conditions, which are prevalent during a typhoon pass. Regions affected by landslide are identifiable by comparing previous satellite images with post-disaster images. Furthermore, we also use satellite data to study our internal waters to generate relevant tools for food security. Here we show fish suitability maps, which is a data-driven and evidence-based approach in helping that end users find productive fishing grounds within their respective municipal waters. This is important, especially for municipalities needing a boost in their economy and those demanding a secure food source for the community. So as we build our programs at the PhilSA, I'd like to introduce one of our guiding principles for both men and women. This is the concept of T-shaped people and institutions. Space, like other scientific fields, is an interdisciplinary endeavor. When we build stuff for space, we need T-shaped people and institutions. The T is a metaphor which represents the individual's depth and breadth of skills. Having the requisite depth of skills in one's field of expertise is denoted by the vertical bar. Acquiring a breadth of skills and the ability to collaborate across disciplines with experts in other areas, as well as applying knowledge in areas of expertise other than one's own, is depicted by the horizontal bar. So as you can see, I myself did not necessarily have a degree very specific to space. But since space is a vast and ever-growing field, there is indeed space for everyone. And even beyond STEM, like STEAM, as they call it, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics, which includes the arts, definitely has a place in space. We need effective science communicators, we need social scientists, people who know and are able to reach out to the community. We need economists, lawyers. All of these fields holistically contribute to the field of space and enhance STEM as a whole. In this field, we need more diverse minds and ideas. Because the strength of a field is in its ability to take in new ideas and use them to build on, to create new knowledge. And for that, we need to open our disciplines to those from different walks of life and different backgrounds. I am proud of the women who have brought us to where we are today in the field of STEM. So, to all women in this field, let us continue to be mentors to the other aspiring young girls. Let us continue to break barriers so that one day, there need not be barriers to be broken any longer. So to close, let me share with you our mission and vision. At PhilSA, we envision a nation bridged, uplifted, and empowered through the peaceful uses of outer space. We aim to promote and sustain a robust Philippine space ecosystem that adds and creates value in space for and from Filipinos and for the world. Thank you and a pleasant day to all.
Thank you, Doc Jane. Alam niyo, whenever you listen to Doc Doc Gay, no? Parang abot mo na ang langit pag nakapakinggan mo si Doc Gay, no? Kasi how she explains to us how the stars are no longer unreachable for us because of the work that they are doing. You know, I was reading the research that Doc Gay has been doing. Nagsimula siya on studying crowds, no? Yung studying the behavior of crowds. Imagine that, like something so simple, and yet there is really a deeper science to that. And I think this has really helped in her research as she went into work in space, no? And I like she started out with the Diwata 1 and 2. Iniisip ko nga, siya ang Diwata behind Diwata, no? Behind this satellite. And if you see that the work they shared with the Philippine Space Agency, you think it's about getting to the moon, but it's actually more than that, no? That's why importante yung pagiging a T-space, person, T-shaped person, no? Disaster response, how these images are so important for us to be able to make the right responses when these things happen. How do you rescue, especially when, you know, all communications are down? This information is so important, you know, to provide these strategic responses. Flood impact assessment, especially in a country like ours, no, that we get ilan ba ang ating bagyo per year, no? And this information is so important for us to know. And now that PSA is doing this, this is so important that we have this. And of course, fish suitability, especially for our coastal communities. These are just some, no, of the many things that they are doing. I hope from our audience right now, they're already looking, how do I get into a career? How do I get a job at the PSA, no? 3 years na pala ang PSA. And I think, you know, this great opportunity for you to start your career also in science. Okay, so I think we have all our speakers already. I think we can open the floor for our questions. But before that, no, let me, I see on the chat box several questions right now, no, and I think you've seen right now 4 women who have actually shown you the different facets of promoting women in STEM, whether it's through teacher education, building community of learners, or creating ways of communicating science more through citizen science, or through working with the government, no, providing this information that can provide strategic responses for the country, no. Maybe I'll throw out first the first question, and then we'll open the floor to the questions we have listed here. Let me ask this. So, question of the day, totoo ba, are there still STEM fields in the Philippines where women are severely underrepresented? Of course, you are represented, but saan ba yung pinakakonte ang ating mga kapabaihan at what are these fields? Siguro we start back to the start kay Ma'am Graciela. From the work that you've been doing, and especially since you've been seeing this from teachers, no, mayroon pa ba tayong mga STEM fields in the Philippines that are underrepresented?
I think in general, what we observe based on the scholarship programs, because our scholarship programs are tied to work opportunities, we do have a lot of women taking STEM in college and completing their degree, no? But we see in the actual workplace that there is still an underrepresentation in engineering, I think. But we do have a lot of women in STEM occupations in the medical field and in the IT-related work. So I think from our perspective, sa engineering tayo pa nagkukulang.
Yes, thank you, Graciela. That's true, no? I think if you look at classes also, whether in college or even just entry in terms of courses, we still need more engineers. And actually, this is very critical in nation building, who are building our bridges, or, you know, and also just engineers are also solution makers with what you have. How are you making these solutions, no? Maybe we can ask Miss Rina. Miss Rina, especially since you've been doing STEM work even before STEM was this popular, are you seeing also this trend? I mean, in addition to these engineering professions?
Yeah, I guess we see it, no? And as I mentioned earlier, there's while the Philippines is supposed to have, gender parity and all of that. There's still that gender bias, or that hidden bias, that exists, And I think Chona also mentioned it earlier that um, we have this imposter syndrome and all of that, and a lot of us really think that what we're doing is not really the right thing, or what needs to be done. But so it's really, I think, up to us to continue to encourage, from very young, the children, the girls, to want to and to love, learning math or science, because they too have that capability to learn it, they just have to, get over that, over their own,
Biases.
hidden biases. Yeah. So yeah, we really want work also with the teachers, the parents, the caregivers, to help them also, to make them realize, that the girls have it also, within them, and they need to engage the girls. It's not as if it's like when we were doing our Math Dali program, there was this thing that like the kid is struggling with math homework and all of that, and then the parent comes in and says, "Ay, talagang ganyan, mahirap talaga yung math, parang okay lang, and parang ganyan." But more than that, we need to encourage them that they can do it. They just need to. There's a lot of effort that needs to go into it, but they can do it, if they persevere and really think, develop all those different critical thinking and problem solving minds. Yeah.
That's true, Rina. Actually, there's research that's saying that if you once you start with that statement, hindi ka magaling sa math, and then it gets stuck, especially for girls. But if you remove that, they totally think that, it's normal for us to know math. And I think that's one reason also we don't have, because they connect engineering with just mathematics. It's not just that, right? It's really about seeing a bigger picture of the world and seeing, this is how I see it, these are solutions I can see, So actually,
Right.
for the girls, if you're good in math, there are different things that you can be an engineer. It's really about problem solving around your community. And naalala ko yung sabi ni Graciela, na most of them are in medicine, because we think, pag magaling ako sa math, kung girl ako, science and math, ay magdo-doctor ako. I would like to connect this with Doc Chona. I know your story was gusto mo maging doctor nung una, 'di ba? Tapos you went into molecular bio. I mean, you really went into the field. Maybe you can share more about that to change that mindset also, that girls in science are only for medicine. Go ahead, Doc Shona.
That's a very interesting question. The angle of it, especially since ang naiisip ko for the past responses so far is nalilimit ang mga babae sa STEM because of the statement, kababae mong tao, which I seem to have heard a lot growing up. Kasi in high school, in Pisay, when I was still there, we used to have streams when we reached third year and fourth year, yung tech stream versus life science stream and so on. And yun nga, a lot of my girl batchmates went into life sciences kasi gusto nilang mag-med school. But ako, I went into the tech stream, tapos nagka-carpentry kami, nagsusolder kami. And there was one time, I was trying to cut a piece of wood and one of my legs was up and so on. Not a very feminine pose. And my yung teacher ko pa mismo yung nagsabi sa akin, "Hoy, Chona, kababae mong tao, bakit ka nakaganyan?" And I'm like, this is the exact same pose that the boys in class were holding my skirt was covering my legs. It wasn't like I was exposing anything untoward. Pero ganun. And when I started going into ecology and doing diving, doing field work, lumulusong sa burak, sa putikan, in the mud, I would hear people tell me, "Naku ma'am, bakit kayo gumagawa niyan? Kababae niyo pong tao." And laging ganon, paulit-ulit. As if being a woman limits my capacity to do some of those things. And I think uh, although we do have certain physiological strengths and weaknesses that are unique in men and women, having the concept that only men can do certain things and only women can do certain things, even in the field of STEM, lessens the number of girls who are inspired to take engineering degrees, the more physical degrees, the more math related degrees, as Director Rina has mentioned earlier. And this opens us up to, yeah, the life sciences, which we do see a lot of women in, and it's very inspiring. And yet I also do remember when I got into the intermed program, one of the reasons that my guidance counselor told me to, "Huy, kunin mo yan. Don't sacrifice that scholarship kasi sayang." And one of the reasons she told me is, "Do you know that they take in less girls in that program kasi," and this is sad because I've heard it in other places, kasi ang babae nabubuntis. Our ability to get pregnant is actually looked down upon, even during this discussion on gender mainstreaming that we had before, kasi women will take pregnancy leaves, and so sayang yung training. Bakit pag nanganak po ba kami, nakakalimutan na namin yung training? It's a little frustrating, but we do hear that a lot, and it's those things where while we clamor for equality, there is also the concept of equity. Aba, kung pwedeng kayo yung manganak, edi kayo yung manganak. You think it's pleasurable for us to give birth? I don't think so. But that's what we have, but it doesn't stop us from being able to excel in previously male dominated fields. So thank you for that.
That's true, no? Actually, if these challenges happen to us women, it even pushes us more. No, I will prove you wrong, because I know I can do better, and I know another girl is looking at me at the back, like seeing how I will, how will I cope with this, so actually it has been shown also that it's not necessarily true that they will quit. They will actually be more inspired. So Doc Gay, last but not least for that, how about in your industry, especially sa physics and also sa space studies, now do you see also the same, or have there been changes happening? Have there been more women coming in?
All right. Thanks for that, my Miss Lights. So I just want to do a rejoinder. Actually, in fact, it's very the same picture as what Chona, Rina, and Shella has mentioned. While we do have a good representation of women in the health sciences, the number is still very low for the physical sciences. So earlier, Shella mentioned about engineering having low representation of women, or a smaller number of women in the workforce. So that is true for the physical sciences as well. So in my field, in physics and in space, that is very much true. And in fact, looking at the numbers of women who are involved in the satellite development. So earlier I talked about the Philippines having developed already 6 satellites, and we are now working on the new satellite Mula. So we have 16 women engineers who are part of the satellite development. And guess how many male engineers? There's 51 of them. Okay, so 16 out of 51. 16 women, 51 men, so that's roughly 24% only, no? So that number is actually a little high than the global average. So report from the United Nations says that only 20% of workforce in the space sector are women. So we are slightly higher than that at 24%. So these are the women who are involved in the satellite development. And interestingly, we have the same ratio for the women who are in the space agency right now, who are doing the technical work, so the science and engineering aspect of research that we're doing at PhilSA. So we have 12 women, 39 men. So very similar ratio, roughly 24%. So I believe one of the reasons why we don't have as high as a number as we want to, aside from what Chona already mentioned earlier, is the lack of role model. So growing up as an aspiring maybe scientist or engineer, maybe, well, even way before that, as a student in elementary and high school, we don't have a lot of role models to look up to. Like, we see a lot of doctors, right? As a kid, we have to go to the doctors regularly. We see a lot of lawyers, teachers, of course. We deal with, we have teachers and interacting with them every day. But we don't see a lot of scientists, right? So it's not part of our regular day-to-day lives growing up as a kid. Therefore, it's not, I would say, ingrained in the consciousness of the kids to look at it as a potential career. Like you ask a kid what you would like to be when you grow up, and then he or she would answer something that they can easily relate with. Now, maybe thanks to some movies, sci-fi, some kids are saying, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a scientist. But for many, this serves just like a dream or something that they are really not seriously planning to do, but more like a moonshot, because they don't know the process. They don't know how to get there. And they think, oh, this is sci-fi. This is what countries like US has. And we don't have that in the Philippines. So I have not seen an astronaut in the Philippines. I have not seen a scientist in my school or something like that. So I think that's one very important aspect. And if we're looking at trying to increase this number, we have to bring our scientists, our engineers, more in front of our kids, the younger generation, and show them as a good role model for them. Thank you.
I think
Yes,
just
go ahead,
an addition to that, no, I think Gay, one other thing is to really develop that scientific environment, where the scientists will actually thrive, because we have scientists, but they leave, right? But so we really need to to keep them here, or when they come back, to keep them also, no, so that, and the way to do that is really to have that more engaging scientific environment, and that's something I think that we need to develop as a country.
I couldn't agree more, Rina. Yes, you said it very well. The nurturing environment is indeed very important. And I guess for all of us here at Chona, we were very lucky that we were given this nurturing environment. We had mentors that helped us develop our scientific career. And we have a place to go back to. So all of us had the chance to go out to expand our knowledge, but having a place to go back to apply what we have learned is very important. So yes, I couldn't agree more, Miss Rina.
Yeah, the thriving ecosystem really for scientists and also for women scientists, to grow, to develop their talents and be role models. I think these are really, I mean, it goes hand in hand, right? From the, what you call this, from developing them early on, early childhood education to ensuring that you don't that girls continue that interest, because there are studies also that show by grade 6 the interest for science also wanes because they start getting discouraged, right? And just making sure that pipeline continues,
Mhm.
continues to go up the ladder, and that ecosystem that supports not just scientists like you, Doc Gay and Doc Char. I'm sure there are so many out there, and I think really it really is a collaborative effort among all sectors. And so the work that you're all doing with Gokongwei Brothers Foundation, also just providing that capacity development for teachers, also parents. So let's not forget that yes, I'm inspired to be an engineer, but my parent, right? Your parent will say, sabi nga ni Doc Chan, kababae mong tao, no? I mean, not every parent will let you become who you want to be. And I think that is so important, that's so valuable in career development, career promotion for women in STEM. Okay, I don't know how much time we have. Ayat, maybe you want to share the comments on our chat box right now. So we have coming in here and also on the chat box. Andiyan ba si Ayat?
Yes, Miss Lights.
Ayan. Sige, basahin mo muna yung ating comments sa ating chat box.
Okay, Miss Lights, before I get to the comments on our chat box, we have a few questions right here on FB Live, and also I think right there in Zoom. We have questions from Brian C. Akar and Ethan Oliver Peralta. Actually, these are two different questions, but essentially, they're asking the same thing. How do we remove stigma and gender bias inside the classroom? So kahit po mga estudyante pa lang po sila, they can feel that there is stigma and gender bias inside their classroom. There are gender segregation and stereotypes that still continue to affect teenage women, including those women in our schools' STEM program. How can we solve this dilemma in terms of their work in STEM? Any advice po from our panelists this afternoon?
Any takers? Gracella, from your end sa school?
Yeah, I think what we've seen in the school, what helps address the stigma is really the teachers, no? It's very important how the teachers understand and embrace gender equality in science, in all aspects naman, no? But for this very specific question for STEM, I think it really starts with the culture, the mindset, the language, the behavior of the teachers. Second, just to echo and emphasize what Rina mentioned about thriving ecosystem, sometimes the teachers are not enough. The school itself should have that kind of enabling environment and programs that support and encourage girls to to succeed, to overcome the bias, and to perform well. So makikita nila. It also helps, I think, in the classroom, not just in the classroom, but in the entire school system environment, that they understand that there is a path for women to perform and thrive in the STEM field. From the early stages, like what you mentioned, no? From the early stages, when they get to decide, when they go to junior high, then they decide what strand ang i-join nila pagdating ng senior high, pagdating ng college. Ang daming points of decision making and points of influence. So, whatever classroom that is, no, elementary, high school, college, I think that path has to be made clear. And the ecosystem and the people in that ecosystem, starting with the teachers, the school administrators, parang dapat malinaw sa lahat yun para magawa nila yung programa na kailangan para umangat yung mga kababaihan sa STEM.
Thanks, Michelle. Rina, anything you wish to add on that?
Yeah, I agree with Shella, no? And aside from the teachers and it's also the parents, no? the whole community. And I think it's really it should be a national advocacy that we really look at uh, and provide, the confidence and the encouragement, actually, to both boys and girls, no. But of course, because we're talking about girls here, it's especially girls. But that is why we really also advocate for the growth mindset, no. Um, a lot of it, I feel is really a very helpful, way of thinking and doing that. What you are now, it doesn't mean that you're stuck there. You're not good yet. There's that word yet.
Yes.
And you can be, right? So it's just a lot of that, that mistakes are, one of the most useful things. Two synapses form in your brain when you make a mistake, and you always have to ask questions and answer questions. No? All of these things that should be practiced, no, in the classroom and also at home and in the community as well. No? So, yeah, whenever we do our trainings, whether it's for science or for teaching in the new normal, we include the growth mindset because we believe that it's really something that our teachers, our students, our parents even can learn from.
Yeah, something to remember for our parents and caregivers, no, and our teachers, no, like your words matter. Whatever you say right now will change the lives of your students, and I think it also dictates how they're going to see. Either they take it with a growth mindset that I can do better. I'm not good yet, but I can do better. You haven't seen my best yet, right? Oh, your best yet yung mangyayari. I wonder for our scientists here, Doc Chona and Doc Gay, naramdaman niyo ba yon nung kayo ay nag-aaral pa? And how did you surpass that as a student?
I think I remember as an elementary student having filled up this strange worksheet where it lists different types of work, like washing clothes, and we were supposed to write if it was supposed to be done by a girl or a boy. And I remember being so confused answering it because at home my dad really helps out a lot with everything. And I'm like, who's supposed to wash dishes? So I answered Monday, Wednesday, Friday, boys. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, girls. Because that's how we did it at home. But obviously I got a very low score from that exercise because of it, because of the gender stereotyping that was coming from our textbook, not even from our teacher, but the textbook that we were supposed to answer. But I think we are well on our way in trying to eradicate these kinds of stereotyping. And we do see a lot of opportunities opening up for young girls and women. But one of the things we have to recognize is the double burden that women have to face all the time. It's like when the world realized, okay, so you can be a scientist too, you can be an engineer too, but you also still have to take care of the house, take care of the children, make sure everybody's alive at home. You cook, you clean the house and everything, which is true for so many households. And if young girls see that in their parents na, naku, si mama, nagtatrabaho na nga siya sa umaga, tapos sa gabi, siya pa nag-aayos ng bahay. I don't think I would be inspired to be a working woman, to be a scientist who has this much work in my hands. And then, having to go home to such a kind of setup. So it really is the community, Philippine society in a whole, that has to shift in such that there are reproductive and productive activities that we have to share hand in hand with our male counterparts. It's like one of those projects in one of the communities we tried to help out, where the wives of the fishermen were taught budgeting and all of these business projects, but the project didn't succeed because the women didn't have time to do it. We only have 24 hours in a day. And if women are still confined to their traditional reproductive roles all the time, if we do not open our minds to the fact that we can share it with our male partners, then we will still lose at this game. So we have to balance out everything. So
And
thank you.
that's true, no? Like, I mean, above all the roles of a scientist, and especially if they have a family, whether they're taking care of their parents or they're taking care of their own families, they do think about it. Even if they say their science is, their science is more important, hindi maalis that unpaid care work that they need to do. And if you say we only have 24 hours, women have 48 hours to do all this, right? The care burden that they carry. And yeah, social norms really play a big role in terms of how much more women in STEM are careers are there. There has to be that really that enabling environment. Last but not the least, Doc Gay, 2 minutes na lang daw tayo.
Yeah.
So yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just add to that. Yeah, actually, one thing that we can help, no, in terms of breaking the stigma. By the way, before that, I just say I was lucky in my case because I went to an all-girls school from elementary to high school. So I was fortunate not being exposed to that stigma or stereotype. Yeah, but what I'm thinking, one way to address that, also in response to what Chona said in her presentation about the impostor syndrome, which scientifically proven women have a higher percentage or higher chance of having that impostor syndrome. And in response to that, we need words of encouragement for women, not just words, but it can be other forms of encouragement like recognitions. I think we're on our way having programs recognizing women, recognizing their contributions in our field, in science. So we do have that in professional level, but maybe even in school, we can have programs that recognizes the contribution of women. I think this directly address the fact that we are more prone to be, I guess, insecure, no, or to question, do we deserve this, and have we contributed enough? So questions like that. And when we commit mistakes, women generally beat ourselves harder, like, hey, what have I done wrong, etc. So when we do good, or when women do good, I think it's important to recognize that in one way or another, and that helps build the confidence and encourage more women to take part and to be active contributors in the field.
Uh, yes, Rina, were you on mute,
Yeah.
Rina? Yeah.
Can I start by
ahead.
saying thank you so much to the scientists and those that work in the STEM field. Thank you, Gay. Thank you, Chona and Shella, for what you do and
Yeah.
how you inspire everyone else.
Thank you, Rina. So we still have, I think, a lot of questions, Ayat, no? But I think we'll have to end here. And I think this conversation, we should have more of this, not just an annual conversation. As Doc Gay said, no, women in STEM also need that kind of encouragement among women. And I think it's a reminder for all of us also to check our biases, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a parent, whether you are a co-student or even a co-woman in STEM. I think it's so important that we create that enabling environment, that thriving ecosystem where women in STEM or even STEM enablers can actually, promote more careers in STEM. I think it's really inspiring that more work like this, like these advocacy initiatives, bringing these issues out, because it does help. that you hear that another woman is going through such journey and what you're going through is normal. When we normalize women in STEM, we actually make it possible that there are more women in STEM. And just also a caution there, no, we don't want to say it's just women for STEM. When we live in a more diverse world where both men and women are able to contribute, to sustainable development, you get better outcomes. No? So I'd like to end with a line by a woman in STEM, Miss Melinda Gates, when she said, when you empower women, you empower humanity, because we women, we are always looking out for community solutions, and when you empower women, you empower the world. So with that, thank you again to our speakers. Please give a heart button, a clap button for our speakers for today. And with that, I turn you over to Ayat again for other administrative matters. Ayat?
Ako po ay kinikilig to be in the presence of beautiful, intelligent, and powerful women. In fact, a lot of comments in Zoom and in our FB Live have expressed how inspired they are because of this STEM talk. And we hope to have more of these, not just during NSTF. Okay, so allow us to express our heartfelt gratitude to our women in STEM by presenting them a certificate of recognition. Allow me to read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, DepEd Complex, Meralco Avenue, Pasig City. Certificate of recognition. This certificate is awarded to our panelists. Again, we have Dr. Gay Jane Perez, Ms. Rina Lopez, Ms. Graciela Mendoza, and Dr. Chona Abeledo. In recognition of their contribution as panelists during the 2022 National Science and Technology Fair held via a virtual event platform on August 2 to 5, 2022. Given this second day of August 2022 in Pasig City, Philippines, signed by our Director Jocelyn D.R. Andaya, Director 4 of the Bureau of Curriculum Development. We would also wish to express our gratitude to Ms. Linartes Viloria for serving as our moderator in this STEM talk. Thank you very much once again to our women in STEM, from the seas to space and everything in between. Women, or Filipinas rather, can do it. We still have a lot in store for you. Be sure to check out the Agham Bayani 1 virtual booth exhibits right after this short break. Ladies and gentlemen, that ends day 1 of the National Science and Technology Fair 2022. We'll see you again tomorrow for more discussions and activities. Have a amazing day.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's an interesting discussion.
Thank you po.
Connection established.
Fire has been useful to humans in so many ways, but fire, when mishandled, poses risk, even the small ones. Aside from the readily available materials used to extinguish small fires, did you know that we can put out small-scale fires with a self-made portable fire extinguisher grenade? How? For this experiment, make sure to put on your safety attire, take precautionary measures, and prepare the materials we need. First, extract the calamansi juice. Afterwards, transfer it to an empty bottle and add a small amount of baking soda. Seal the bottle immediately. Now, it's time to test our experiment. Throw the mixture to the small fire and watch how the fire vanishes. Amazing, right? This is made possible because when calamansi juice is combined with a baking soda, a rapid chemical reaction occurs, yielding the product carbon dioxide. Since this mixture is combined inside a container, the carbon dioxide produces pressure and when exposed to heat, accumulates and pushes out the oxygen. The same event happens when a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher is aimed at flammable liquids and electric fires. It takes oxygen away from the fire triangle. The fire, now deprived of oxygen, can no longer burn. Farewell.
Hi! Let me help you gain a better understanding of the amazing biochemical process of photosynthesis. Let me introduce you bilangan ng bula. This is an experiment to test the rate of photosynthesis under different ecological factors. To do this experiment, I'll be using these materials. Let's get started! Fill 4 of the test tubes filled with the plant with tap water. Add a tablespoon of lemon juice to one of them. Before filling another test tube with cold water and another with hot. Afterwards, cover them up with a cork stopper. Place the regular tap water filled test tubes in areas with different light conditions, like shady and sunny, where I'll also be placing the other test tubes before letting them be for 45 minutes. Afterwards, collect everything and observe which test tube produces the most and least oxygen bubbles. What did you observe, friends? Plants need water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight to produce oxygen and glucose. That is why the treatments that are exposed to sunlight produce more oxygen bubbles compared to the ones who are not. Compared to the normal treatments, the treatments with different ecological factors such as temperature and acidity also have an effect on the rate of photosynthesis of the plant. This also applies in real life, where rising acidity in our oceans and constant changing in temperatures are greatly affecting the flora of our planet. I hope you learn more today and don't forget to share this experiment with your friends. See ya!
Hi! Let's marvel at the magic behind static electricity, the transfer of charged particles from one body to another. Ever wondered why rubbing a balloon in your head makes your hair stand up? Rubbing doesn't create electric charges, it just transfers electrons from one material to the other.
Lower humidity and drier conditions are required for this experiment to work. Things you need to do the experiment.
Rubbing this cloth against this balloon results in the balloon becoming negatively charged, and when brought closer to this aluminum can, look, the can rolls towards it. Rubbing the cloth against this red balloon and orange balloon will result to both materials having the same charge.
Look, they repel each other. Amazing, right? Remember, like charges, repel. Unlike charges, attract. Learning science is indeed fun.
For today's experiment, we will be needing the following material. Why did the egg drop straight down to the cup rather than flying to the left along with the paper plate and paper roll? This is an example of Newton's first law of motion, also called the law of inertia. This law states that an object at rest remains at rest, and an object in motion remains in motion at a constant speed and in a straight line unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. The egg didn't fly to the left because there is no force applied to it coming from the side. The egg dropped straight down to the cup because of gravity. Newton's first law of motion has something to do with the wearing of seatbelt. When the car suddenly stops, the seatbelt would act as the unbalanced force that would stop you from being in motion.
Boring eggs. Or so we thought. Want to see some exciting experiments? Come on! Can these carry my weight? Let's find out.
An egg's arc shape distributes pressure evenly all over the shell and makes them very strong. However, eggs don't withstand an even surface. This is where impulse and momentum enter. By increasing the contact time, the force exerted on the eggs is decreased.
How old are your eggs? Let's see!
Old eggs have more gas in them and less water. Just like this one. Watch what happens. Whoops! There it goes.
Want to see some colorful omelets? Let's cook!
Red cabbage is a natural indicator and egg white is a base. When red cabbage juice is added to the egg white, the mixture turns green. Lemon is acidic. When it is added to the green egg white, the mixture turns to pink. Amazing, isn't it?
Wasn't it entertaining? Remember, when that gives you lemons, you just need a little bit of red cabbage and some eggs and they will all be fat, fat egg, fat, fat egg, egg! Yeah!
COVID-19 pandemic continues to spread.
Good thing there's always a light of hope in the world of science.
Welcome to the science world, let us learn and see the brilliant facts discoveries and fun theories, and experiment to prove hypotheses, as well as to uncover wrong realities.
Hey there, science students! Now we're gonna bring light and color into the darkness. It's a level up. First, put 4 tablespoons of baking soda in a container. Then, fill the rest of the container with vegetable oil. In a separate cup, pour 1 cup of vinegar, then add some food color. Add some drops of colored vinegar to the container and observe what happens. It's not magic, it's science. When you drop vinegar with the oil, the vinegar sinks to the bottom and the oil floats to the top. That is because the vinegar is heavier and denser than oil. As the drops of vinegar reach the baking soda, it reacts to make carbon dioxide. When the bubbles pop, the color sinks back and the cycle repeats. Till then, bye!
In a bedroom, you're preparing yourself to go to bed, but suddenly the electricity went out.
No way! Where's my emergency light? Oh, okay, there it is.
Are you having a dark and lonely night? Let's light it up and make it more special with Discoverarium, an element of discovery. In this video, we're going to do our DIY lagna using science. So what are we waiting for? Let's start! In a flask, we're going to put 2 tablespoons of baking soda and fill it with 225 milliliters of vegetable oil. In a separate glass, we will be mixing 25 milliliters of vinegar and 2 drops of food color of your choice. Lastly, we're going to put it in our main jar, and now, let's see the magic. It is caused by the polarity and density of the substances that needs to rise into the top of the jar. A convection current can be found in a lava lamp. Because of changes in density, convection current drives liquids and gases to rise and sink. Convection currents can be found around you, even in the Earth's crust. Now, we creatively produce bright light when we learn knowledge. Alright, finally, I have a way to overcome my weakness. Now, I can sleep peacefully with my lava lamp.
Roller coasters. Did you know that these things don't have any engines? Instead, they run on energy and gravity. Energy can't be created nor destroyed, only ever changing its form within a closed system. One such system is a roller coaster. The total amount of energy remains the same, but it constantly changes from potential to kinetic energy from position and motion respectively, and back again many times throughout the ride. For that, I'll be using a zoom. We can simulate the buildup of potential energy, that is, gravitational potential energy, by placing our marble on the highest point of our replica, which is equal to the mass of the car times acceleration due to gravity times the height of the track. Inertia and acceleration make this part of the track work. Inertia keeps you in your seat even when the coaster goes upside down. Acceleration counteracts gravity and propels the coaster through the loop. And there you have it. Keep that science in mind the next time you ride a roller coaster. I'm Samuel Bernal. Thank you for watching.
Buenos dias, science buddies. Welcome to another episode of Plant Experiment. In this experiment, we look at the effect of papaya peelings in the reaction between eggshell and vinegar. For our setups, we have these. Now let's see what will happen. Wow, a lot of bubbles. The rising bubbles are the carbon dioxide molecules produced by the reaction between the calcium carbonate in the eggshell and the acetic acid in vinegar. In this setup, a very fast reaction is happening due to the presence of papaya enzymes. In a complex world with many people who are sour and bitter, we can be like the papaya enzyme and become the catalyst for change.
Oh no! What? Not again? How am I going to water my plants if the water went out? What am I going to do?
Wait a minute.
Aha! With these materials, I can make my own floating garden. Come and join me. This design is inspired by the concept of aquaponics, which uses a closed-loop system to reduce water usage and promote waste management and nutrient cycling. The organism relies on the basic idea of nitrogen and carbon cycles to
to control the flow of dissolved products into the connecting pipe where the floating garden is located. Fish waste will be used as plant fertilizer. In return, the plant will absorb nitrates and make the water clear for the fish in the tank. The process will be repeated all over again. Now, I don't have to worry about my plants.
Good job.
Have a nice day. Bye!
Lights, camera, action.
How is that even possible? Hi, I'm AJ Garden, and I'm gonna show you how to hold a fire with your bare hand. So, pour water in the container and put some dish soap. Now, here's the thing. This butane gas is a highly flammable. As it passes through the soapy water, combustible bubbles will form. Dip your hand in and get your hand a little bit soapy. Now, scoop up some of those bubbles and light it up.
As you lit up the bubbles in your hand, the butane gas burns quickly and the soapy water mixture will not, creating a fascinating effect without too much danger to yourself.
And that explains the combustion reaction.
Hello everyone! Our colorful experiment for today is called Color Blast. Let's do it! We need these materials for this experiment.
Pour the milk on the plate and start dripping the colors using the dropper. Use at least 3 colors for the blast. It's time to add the dishwashing liquid. Watch this exciting part. Wow!
Explanation time!
The surface tension and attraction of liquid particles to the milk is high, supporting the dye molecules to remain centralized. Upon adding the liquid soap, the colors move dramatically. Dishwashing liquid is surfactant or surface active agent, which in contrast, reduce the surface tension in the liquid. As a result, particles in milk suddenly move around and create swirls, causing this amazing color blast that we see.
Did you enjoy our Color Blast experiment for today? Everything can be explained by science. So, see you next time on our next colorful experiment.
Can you guess what living creature resides in this cabinet? A. Roaches. B. Ants. Or C. Earthworms. Wait, what? Living creatures? In a cabinet? That's right. Earthworms live here. This is vermihome. It houses them to create organic fertilizers that are good for plants because of the content of the essential nutrients nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. How is it done? In a 1:3 ratio, feed the earthworms biowaste. It is optional to add microbes and cow manure. Keep the bin moist by spraying water daily. Harvest after 4 weeks and you're done. That was the technology of vermiculture, the use of worms to convert waste into their humus-rich excreta called vermicompost. The practice is convenient to do from our own homes in terms of time and space, and will benefit us, the community, and the agricultural sector. That was 60 seconds, and this is GRSHS for STEM Talk Paraments.
Is it possible to make a snake out of baking soda and sugar? Join me in this experiment to find out. This is awesome. Here are the materials you'll need.
Let's start by weighing together a 1:4 ratio of baking soda and sugar and mix it in a bowl. Then, transfer the mixture in a glass container to mold it. Now, pour lighter fluid all over the sand. Place the molded baking soda mixture on the very center of the sand and light it up. When you set the lighter fluid on fire, the sugar and baking soda mixture also started to burn. When the baking soda gets hot, it breaks down and produces carbon dioxide. The sugar also breaks down and produces the black carbon. The carbon dioxide gets trapped inside air pockets of the black carbon, and the pressure created from the release of this gas causes the snake to grow. The snake gets its black appearance due to the sugar being caramelized by the heat. Wow! Look at this! This is amazing! Try Try this for yourself and experience the fun of science.
Did you know that you can remove stains like this? We can. I'll show you one practical application of redox reaction at home. To begin with, wear your safety attire. In a basin with 250 ml of water, add 30 ml of chlorine solution and 10 grams of oxalic acid and stir thoroughly. Now, I will soak the stained cloth in the mixture. Lift the cloth, then spray some detergent solution onto the stain, then rinse with water. And voila! It's as good as new again! How did that happen? Let me explain. Oxalic acid acts as a reducing agent for metal oxides to remove tarnish, rust, and ink stains. It converts insoluble iron compounds into soluble complex ions that causes stains to dissolve, hence removed in the water. The chlorine helps in the reaction by brightening and whitening the fabric, giving us the stain-free and clean cloth.